We want to hear what he knows first.
What the hell? You give us pictures
Look,
and
we
then
want to hear what he knows
Hey,
first.
I know as much as you know, all right? There's a guy out there setting off bombs. He calls himself Simon. He speaks with a German accent. And for some reason, he's very angry with me. Now, maybe you can tell me why, fellas, huh?
Be honest, Badway. The first time you watched this as a young Badway, did you know that this was Hans Gruber's brother? 30 years, spoiler. Is it fair to say?
No way. There's no giveaway.
It's not at all?
They should have drug it out longer.
You really think so?
Give it away too soon.
Is it weird if it's like seemed obvious to me? Because it's like, a guy with like a, I don't know, a vendetta. He's like, somehow he wants to be mad at me. I don't know. It just seemed obvious.
Maybe I don't know accents, but like, was Hans Gruber? That's German, right?
Some type of German accent, I think. Right?
I don't know. Well, Simon didn't seem German to me. He felt like some other form of foreign,
like Swiss.
That I I don't know, something I couldn't put my finger on. At least when I was 10 years old.
It just seemed like it would be. Maybe I'm too simple of a man. Like it seemed like, wouldn't this be Hans Gruber's brother? And there we go. If you haven't seen this movie, now you know.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I didn't consider that huge of a reveal.
No, it didn't really matter.
It wasn't like an moment for me. That was kind of like, okay, let's get on with it. What's the next riddle?
Yeah. It didn't really matter. So we'll get into him on the villain scale. We've retired the villain scale for a few episodes because we've had some weak villains, but it's time to bring it back for at least one episode. But in any case, welcome back to the Last Row Podcast. This is episode 145. We're in the middle of the heat wave in the literal heat dome of 2024, the Summer of Sequels Part 2 heat wave. If you are new to the show or you're looking for our website, check us out, thelastrowpodcast.com. Follow us on X, on Instagram, wherever you follow on social channels at The Last Row Pod. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review. This should be a fun one, man. This should be a fun one.
Hot town, summer in the city. Did you find it a little cheesy that they chose that song just because the opening lyrics are "Hot Town, Summer in the City"?
Yeah, because that song doesn't remind me of a hot town. I don't know if Smooth came out by then. When did that come out? What year was that?
Smooth isn't a New York song though.
What do you say? Is that an LA song?
That's a Florida song.
Florida? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see people like playing in the streets with like when they unleash the fire hydrants and stuff.
That was my biggest problem with the entire movie, right?
There was none of that.
The opening montage, in like Turtles 2 when they got the pizza going, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't see any hot dog. I saw a hot dog vendor, but I didn't see him serving hot dogs. Yeah. I didn't see any pizza. I didn't see kids playing the fire hydrant. I didn't see any of that, right?
It was hot, but they didn't show that, and they showed even just having a popsicle. Just have a popsicle.
Yeah, I wanted to see Hot Town, Summer in the City. They just tell me.
They played the song. That was about it. It was pretty weak, in my opinion.
Die Hard with a Vengeance, coming out May 19th, 1995, in this summer of sequels. We skipped over Die Hard 2. Just skipped over it. No offense, Die Hard 2. But Die Hard 2 is not exactly a summer movie.
No.
Right?
I mean, we'll come back to it someday.
Yeah. Runtime 2 hours and 8 minutes. Too long. When they got to the scene where they went to Canada to track him down, were you done?
40 minutes left.
I was done.
And I love this movie, by the way.
Yeah,
but
and I like the movie. But like, come on, guys. It's kind of like, in Bad Boys for Life, speaking of sequels, right? When they go to, like, you think the movie's over and then they go to Cuba for another 45 minutes.
It's
like, but when you have to change the country in the last act of your movie,
dude,
you've done too much.
Some Zack Snyder movies feel shorter than this did to me.
Yeah.
I will say, when I was watching this, I watched it in 2 parts because I tried to watch it after work one day and I fell asleep in the middle of it. I think I left with like an hour in. So I said, all right, I'll go back to start at an hour. That last hour and 8 minutes felt like 5 hours to me.
Yeah.
It just didn't end. And I like this movie, but it is long. Yep. It's too long.
Yeah. Action thriller directed by John McTiernan. He's back.
Johnny boy.
Written by Jonathan Hensley. He's the guy that took us all the way to Canada to make sure the movie wouldn't end. Now, this guy, Drew, This guy has some writing credits. Jumanji screenplay.
Ooh.
What do you think of that?
That's pretty good. It's a good movie. I mean, we did that movie on this show.
Armageddon screenplay.
Why haven't we done that movie yet, by the way?
I don't know. That's a good question.
We got to get on that.
This MFer wrote Next.
Oh,
Nicolas Cage is Next. That batshit crazy movie.
Love that movie. Great movie. I'm sorry. I don't care
Yep.
what you say. It's a great movie.
Yep. So this guy not so bad. Has some odd titles in his filmography.
In his repertoire.
Yeah, and we've been through McTiernan before. He's got some hits. He's got Predator. He's got Die Hard. You know, Last Action. This movie was hot off of Last Action Hero. He went Last Action Hero to Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Johnny Mac might be one of
He's on a hot streak.
The hottest directors that we've had on this show.
But this is it though. So
it's pinnacle.
Yeah. After this, he took a 4-year break and came back with the Thomas Crown Affair, which was Pierce Brosnan dud.
So that didn't do well. Why did I always assume that was like a good movie?
Maybe it is good, and I don't think Pierce Brosnan's a very good actor, so I always assume everything that Pierce Brosnan does that isn't Mrs. Doubtfire is a bad movie.
You know, when you talk about the hot box all the time, when I think about some of these movies, I think about when you say the Thomas Crown Affair, I think of 4 Weddings and a Funeral at the same time, like all those weird like movies for older people.
Yep. So after that, 13th Warrior, dud. Rollerblade, dud. And then some movie named Basic. Rollerblade 3.1 IMDb, too high.
Who's in 13th Warrior? Is that Banderas?
Yeah, it's a Banderas movie.
And he's like a Templar or something, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
That's not great. Not great.
IMDb for Die Hard with a Vengeance, 7.6 out of 10.
After
too low. It's too low.
Too low, but the runtime's too high.
But we're not going to die.
No, it should be higher than that.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes 59%. Too low. Metacritic 58%. Too low. Letterboxd 3.7 out of 5.
Too low. I gave it a 4.
This is a 4. It's a 4 out of 5.
Oh, so it's we agree on one finally.
Yeah, that's a 4. Yeah.
We agree on one.
Detective John McClane is now divorced, not true, alcoholic and jobless after getting fired. Those are true.
True.
True and true. He's not divorced. He's just separated. After getting fired.
I thought he was suspended, not fired. His
also
badge is in the drawer.
Not true. True. Okay. Not true. True alcoholic. Not true jobless.
Is this two truths and a lie?
Hold on. If you're suspended, are you jobless?
You're
Depends
jobless
on with or without pay.
Temporarily. They don't suspend cops without pay, man.
They always pay the cops. They pay them. They pay them.
Not to get political here, but
not true. True, not true. After getting fired, he wasn't fired for his reckless behavior and bad attitude. He is called back into action, however, when a cryptic terrorist takes New York City hostage in a lethal game of Simon Says.
Cryptic.
And refuses to speak with anyone but McClane, teaming up with his street-savvy electrician named Jesus Carver. Jesus. McClane dashes through the city, trying to stay one step ahead of the murderous plot. That's a bad synopsis, Drew.
I think it's really bad, and I blame Google on that one. So just for the record, so anyone that listens to the show, I take the thing that comes up when you type the movie into Google. I'll pull the one that comes up in the right-hand side. I don't go to IMDb. I don't go to like Letterboxd. I'm taking that one, and that's by design.
It's fair.
Because I want to see how ridiculous it is.
I'm fine with it. Oh, but before we get into it, what I should have said about the writer. This movie was supposed to be a Brandon Lee vehicle.
Really?
Yeah. It was written for a Brandon Lee vehicle called Simon Says.
Okay.
Before The Crow died, unfortunately. And then when that fell through, Warner Brothers picked it up and they tried to make it a Lethal Weapon sequel. And that fell through. And that fell through. And then it turned into Die Hard with a Vengeance. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I wonder, so then the connection from Simon to Hans is for this movie, obviously. So I wonder how much would be different.
Yeah, I mean, you could rewrite it to tailor it to the Die Hard world, sure. But the whole terrorist, setting up traps along the city, making a cop go through tasks, things like that. What could have been Brandon Lee, man? What could have been?
I died too soon, man. I love it. We were just talking about that on The Crow a few weeks ago. I agree.
Sad. I
got to tell you, these taglines are some of the weakest we've ever seen on this show. This show has ever seen. So there's 7, and I'll go through them quickly. But number 1, when the theater goes dark, the roof blows off.
Ooh,
Don't like it. Think fast. Look alive. Die hard.
No.
Mer.
No.
On a good day, he's a great cop. On a bad day, he's the best there is. Is he really a great cop? I don't know that he is.
Is he? Yeah, I mean, he's a great detective. He detects things. He has that sixth sense.
We know he was afraid to leave LA because he's afraid he's the only one that could do the job. So he's the only one to go to LA. Remember in Die Hard 1?
Yeah.
McClane is back. I mean, he literally is. So this time it's personal.
Too soon.
It was personal a bunch of times.
Not too soon, too lame, not too soon. Too lame.
It's boom time in the Big Apple.
Get out of here.
But I'm sorry. The Big Apple is like a triggering word for me. It just seems like it's lame.
So do you hate Windy City also?
I'm not as bothered by it because I feel like
Windy City.
Chicago,
you don't like nicknames? Your anti-nicknames? Your anti-city nickname.
Yeah, like City of Brotherly Love. Okay, we
City
get it.
of Brotherly Love.
Because it's always used in jest. It's always used in jest.
Like, Beantown. Like for Boston. Yeah. People say Beantown is offensive.
Is it? Why?
I don't know. There's something to do with like the locals don't like it.
We got to look this up. I hear the last one. John McClane. So dumb. John McClane is about to have a very bad day. Like which Simon Says stuff.
It's kind of like Winner by Default.
Yeah, it's the best one of the terrible ones. So anyway, Mert. Financials, $90 million budget, so it was not a small budget. And it grossed worldwide 366. This thing was a hit, man. This was not a small movie.
Of course.
So you had a star power. When we talked about this in the first one, and we'll come back to it, Bruce Willis was seen as like not an action star in the first one. He's clearly established by this point. So definitely people knew what they were getting into with this one. There was no convincing him. I want to touch on a couple awards really quickly. So as we always talk about on the show, MTV Movie and TV Awards, this was nominated in 1996 for the best action sequence. It was for the maniacal drive through New York City subway explosion and derailment. And the other nominees were Bad Boys for the airplane hangar shootout, Broken Arrow for the underground shootout and explosion, and all of these lost to Braveheart for the Battle of Stirling.
Fair. How are you going to beat that?
You want to know blasphemy? I've never actually seen Braveheart all the way through.
I was about to say I want to go watch Braveheart again right now. It makes me want to go watch Braveheart again.
I've seen a lot of bits and pieces of it. I shouldn't admit this as a movie fanatic, but I have not seen it all the way through.
Do you have something against like these epic?
No, I like them.
Set piece. Like, have you seen Gladiator?
Yes, I love Gladiator. Okay. Like this, Braveheart's up my alley. It's just I didn't see it at the time, it just so happens. Passed me by. And it's super long too, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So
too long, but you won't hate it. You might have to watch it now. You being as old as you are right now. You might have to. It might be a 2 or 3 seating thing. It may have been a double VHS if you remember.
It probably was. I think it was.
I think it was one of the rare double VHSs.
Yeah. I like Mel Gibson in those movies. I like those kind of movies. I should watch it. So, fun fact for everybody: you can make fun of me. You have full reign. This was also nominated for Best Action Adventure Film in the Saturn Awards. Let me read to you some of these other ones, and this gave me an idea of another thing that we should do for a show where we should do like either movie drafts or just talk about like specific movies through the 90s, like decades years within a decade. 1996 awards, which was for the 95 season. Let me tell you some of these movies. So the winner was The Usual Suspects, but other action adventure movies, Braveheart, GoldenEye, Seven, Apollo 13, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and freaking Heat, man.
Heat.
Like, can you... Like, what kind of year was that?
Is The Usual Suspects good, or is it propped up by its twist ending?
I think it's both, but I think it got more credit because of that. Because I don't know. But who is that singer? Bryan Singer, I think it is. He directed that one. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like it's just kind of. If it didn't have, I mean, and kudos to it for having the twist ending, but like I feel like it's like its whole reputation is its twist ending.
Yeah,
and
probably.
If not, it would have been just another '90s action movie that people wouldn't have remembered. Yeah, I could be off base on that, but
I haven't seen it in so long, so I don't know. But I think a movie like Heat, like I'm surprised that or GoldenEye didn't win over like, and this is action adventure.
Goldeneye. What did I tell you about Pierce Brosnan, man?
Yeah, I know. You're right.
7 is the winner here, but it's not really so much action adventure. That's more of a slow burn. That's a slow burn.
A thriller to me, and that's the best movie on that list from like an overall standpoint, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, Braveheart is. I'm surprised Braveheart wouldn't have won that.
Yeah.
Look, normally we weave trivia into the show, but there was just 2, and I didn't want to go deep into the tales from IMDb this time. I just didn't have time. But there was 2 pieces that I thought were kind of interesting. We always joke about this on the show, but you get a rated R movie and people say, oh, you got to work some nudity in, or you got to find a sex scene. Well, apparently, maybe Tales from IMDb, that's exactly what happened with this movie. So the Simon and Katya sex scene was added because McTiernan knew the film had an R rating, and he's like, screw it, might as well have a sex scene in there, allegedly.
That seems like Tales from IMDb. I don't know if I believe that, but however, like they were giving each other the eyes the entire movie. I don't know if that was edited in later.
Yeah.
But that girl was not with sunglasses henchman guy. Lurch. Yeah. Whoever the heck his name is. Torben?
Something like that.
Turbo?
Turbo?
I don't know.
I forgot the guy's name. It's in the villain scale somewhere.
They weren't really together. Like that was kind of a no. Like she wanted the main man.
That guy, but I don't even know what the point was with the charade or charade.
The charade.
The other one was that I saw, instead of Simon originally being cast with Jeremy Irons, they apparently wanted Sean Connery. So he turned down the role because he didn't want to be such a diabolical villain, which I could see that, I guess. He doesn't strike me as a bad guy, so maybe he just wouldn't want to do that. But I think he would have done a good job.
He's never been a bad guy? Or
I don't know.
A diabolical bad guy?
I'm not as well versed with his filmography there, but I thought, I mean, you get lightning in a bottle with Jeremy Irons. I thought he was great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
So we got to jump into this, and I don't know if it makes sense to do this now or at the end, but I know last time when we talked about this, and I'll put a link in the show notes, I do it for all the Summer of Sequel movies, we talked about Die Hard, the original film, and I think at that time I asked you what was your personal ranking of the films. Do you want to talk about that now, or should we circle back after the end? I'll let you make.
You brought it up. Let's talk about it right now.
All right. So, what does it change your ranking? If you can remind everybody what yours was.
Yes, this viewing changed my rankings. I think Die Hard 1 is officially better.
Really, you did?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know why. While I was watching this, while I did enjoy it, I always thought of this one as my favorite. I guess it's because it was my introduction into the series, and I watched it as it was an R-rated movie that me as a 10, 11-year-old was allowed to watch. So maybe that kind of like boosted it up for me. But the action scenes were a little ridiculous. And I feel like as ridiculous as Die Hard 1 was, it was a little more realistic and grounded. And I kind of like that better.
I like this movie a lot, but I agree. I think the first one is a better movie. This one's more action and more fun. But I think the first one is definitely a better movie.
Up until yesterday, I would have said 3-1 and 1 is 2. No, I switched them.
Wow.
Now I switched.
Okay. Yep. I could see it. Yeah. And I think
now it's 1-3-2.
It follows the tropes of a sequel. It's obviously bigger and more action-packed and bombastic and all that stuff. And the big change that they made was the first one, we talked a lot about this, was John McClane is a cop from New York City going to LA. And we talked a lot about his problems with LA and it's too whatever. The setting of this movie is back in New York City. And compared to the first one, we're not going to talk about the second one today. We're just going to talk about the first one. But it's not at Nakatomi Plaza anymore. So what did you think of the setting of New York versus this happening in LA?
I'm a fan of going throughout the city. You know, you got the confined space of the Nakatomi Plaza, and then also in Die Hard 2 with the airport. I kind of like the wide open space of the cities. I think it's good to get out and stretch your legs and breathe a little bit. Gives you more to work with, and it leads to those spectacular action sequences. Let you do more.
Yeah, you had a lot of variety in this too, because you had indoor places, underground places, building places. Like, I mean, there was a lot. There was police stations. There was
Yankee Stadium in the mix there.
Yeah, you got to have Yankee Stadium if you're in New York there. I thought it was interesting. I mean, I kind of liked it better in New York. The thing that I just thought was funny, you know, we talked a lot in the first episode about people from New York living in LA thinking about life in that city versus this city. Something that I just saw that I thought, yeah, that probably would happen in New York City was, You remember when they were chasing, and here I am already. Remember this? Remember when the cab they called the ambulance and he was driving the cab behind the ambulance so that it could clear traffic for him?
Yeah.
I feel like that's something I could see happening in New York City where it's like, hey man, the cab drivers just got to get there. So they're going to find any advantage they can.
Now, first of all, that's like, I believe it's some kind of felony to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably.
Not just the call in, but like if you as a regular person on the highway were to follow an ambulance that was like weaving through traffic, big time felony. Second of all, I feel like if I had like a car that I didn't care about and I saw someone doing that, I would purposely ram them to stop them from doing what they're doing. Just for them being a jerk.
Have you ever thought about that when you see somebody driving up the shoulder? You're like, man, if I could just, but
right.
You never know. Maybe they had an emergency. Maybe they had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. It's like that, I think you should leave skit. I'm so angry. And you just like ran, like, I think about that all the time. Like, I wish I could just destruction derby people. You just can't do it.
I agree. I feel like you're right. And I think I just imagine like these cab drivers in New York City just following ambulances because they need to get there faster. It was just such a funny thing to me. I don't know why. Let's pick back up where John McClane is. So again, we're skipping over number 2, but where the hell is he right now? What's going on with him? He seems like he's in a bad spot.
Does he live in a 1-bedroom apartment or an efficiency?
Is efficiency the same as the studio? Is that like
studio? Yeah. Studio.
I mean, you ever watch those YouTube videos of those like apartments that's basically like a coffin? That's what I think he's in.
In fact, an efficiency, I believe, doesn't even have a bathroom. It's like the bathroom's down the hall and you share it like you're in a dorm, right?
Yeah.
I see that. He's in an efficiency. He's got like he has a couch that's smelly. He's got like a folded lawn chair as the second seat, as the seat for his skinny kitchen table, right? He's got a hot plate, he's got a microwave, and he's got blinds that are broken, right? And he just doesn't care anymore.
And you open up his cabinet and he's got 80 bottles of aspirin because that he doesn't eat anything, he just drinks aspirin with coffee.
His fridge has like 3 beers and a bottle of mustard in it.
Yeah, what do you think about drinking aspirin or like a pill or a vitamin with not water? Are there things that you would chase like a pill with that is not water? Like I know obviously they say drink water, but what's like, where do you draw the line on that?
Well, I don't know. Like I would do that all the time. Like I'll down a Tylenol with an orange juice or a soda, not
what
a beer,
about a coffee or
not a beer.
You're like, what is unacceptable? That's the question.
I mean, I guess I've used energy drinks to down like
I do too every day.
Zyrtex or a Tylenol or something like that, and maybe the energy drink is causing my headache. I don't know.
But I think it has to be a cold or room temperature beverage.
Yes,
like,
a liquid's a liquid. You can't use coffee.
It's like coffee because you're supposed to sip coffee. You don't chug coffee.
Unless if you're a coffee master, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a coffee drinker.
Some people are grizzled coffee veterans, and maybe a lot of cops are.
Yeah, they're just chugging coffee and smoking cigarettes, especially in New York City. So I don't know. Like he's just chugging aspirin. He winds up meeting a buddy cop here, essentially that takes him through the movie. We were already talking about McClane. We'll get into him in a second, but
we know who John McClane is.
Let's talk about Sam Jackson because we gave Bruce Willis some appreciation last time. I want to spend a minute and appreciate Sam Jackson. What are your thoughts on him? How do you feel about him?
I love Sam Jackson. I don't love Sam Jackson. I like Sam Jackson.
You love him, but you like him.
I like Sam Jackson exactly in this role. He's a co-star. He's like the second man. If he were nominated for an award, it would be Best Supporting Actor. That's the kind of Sam Jackson I like. I don't need Sam Jackson to be the star of the show. So I feel like that kind of happened in the early 2000s after a lot of successes like this and like Deep Blue Sea, Time to Kill, things like that. And then he started to get his own movies and they didn't do so well. So I kind of like this version of Sam Jackson.
What is your favorite, not counting this movie, what's your favorite Sam Jackson performance?
Oh man. I mean, it might be easy to say, but I might go Pulp Fiction.
That's what I was
because
say.
I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. Snakes on a Plane, if you want to go.
That's a great movie.
But that's like an example of like, you see, he's leading. It's not really a good movie. It's a memorable movie. It's a memeful movie, right? But I mean, know.
If you Google his name and you look at him on IMDb, the name that he comes up for is Pulp Fiction, and I feel like that's by design, right?
Yeah. Right. But like all of his Tarantino work though, like Hateful Eight, he was great in Hateful Eight.
Fantastic.
He was great yet controversial in Django Unchained.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he didn't have a problem taking the role, so why should I feel bad about it? I kind of like him as the supplementary characters. He's better that way.
Yeah. I mean, he's in all the Marvel movies as Nick Fury. Yeah. I think he's pretty good in that. Like, I don't know. I think Pulp Fiction is probably my favorite of his, of all of them, but I do love Snakes on a Plane. And sure. I feel like that movie, yeah, he's the leading man, but it's, I don't know, it's like a weird movie.
1408. I saw this movie, The Cleaner, where he's like, this guy is like it's like a serial killer like that, but his job is to clean up crime scenes or whatever the heck. It's like, they tried to make him a thing and it didn't work. Black Snake Moan,
I should have mentioned Unbreakable because that's, but that's like a supporting, like he's sort of a supporting actor. Right?
He's not in that movie a ton, but like he's very important to it.
Yeah.
You know, remember The Man? Oh man.
Oh, you're the man now.
We're going to Blockbuster having that commercial every 5 minutes. Oh, you're the man now.
So you think you're
yes,
the man?
I'm the man. Yes, I'm the man.
I remember when I was working at the movie theater myself, they would have that on the TVs too, and you just hear it 85,000 times.
Yep, the Blockbuster trailer, like every 15 minutes, the thing would reset itself, and oh my God.
I agree.
Now, Coach Carter all day. That's his best solo movie.
What about Loaded Weapon? That's a good role too.
That's kind of his first, isn't it? Like his first leading role type
I think
movie.
So. Yeah, I think so. Because that was 1993.
93. Like obviously he's been in stuff since way back in the 80s. Juice. He was a freaking Juice for all I know.
That was a good one.
Yeah, but he was like barely a Juice. He's the arcade owner, whatever. He had like 2 lines. Whatever. But you forget that he was in, like, people forget Loaded Weapon exists. That's the thing.
It's a great movie. It's not well.
It's a spoof. It's a spoof that doesn't star Leslie Nielsen. So that kind of like true. It kind of gets swept under the rug.
I think Hot Shots. It's Hot Shots and Loaded Weapon. Like those are the two that I think are great. And Hot Shots Part 2 is better because it does more of the Rambo than the Top Gun stuff. But I think Loaded Weapon is great. It's a really fun movie. Spoof movies are underrated. They became too ridiculous. Because they didn't, but like those had star power. Like those guys were famous actors. Like when you're talking about Not Another Teen Movie, it was more people that were unknown. So, but I think Sam Jackson is good. I think he definitely hit too much of a like saturation point where he was in too many things and everything, and it started to get kind of annoying. But I think he's his best when he's not a leading man, and I agree with you. Like I think he's one of the best supporting actors. Yeah, but I'm not usually a fan of his movies on their own. What do you think of the dynamic between Zeus and McClane? Because McClane's always done his thing. Like he had Carl Winslow in the first one, but he wasn't with him. This is kind of like having Carl Winslow or Reginald VelJohnson with him during the movie, but a different, like dynamic. Because Zeus was a more like agitated person, or he was more like aggressive towards him.
Yeah, I mean, it was the racial tension. The one-sided racial tension was always there throughout the movie. Even though McClane is kind of just like an asshole to everybody. So it's like Zeus could take it as him being a dumb racist cop, but he's just an asshole to everybody. So
I agree.
You could see him taking offense to things that he says or does, or the way he talks to him, but he's not being racist. He's just being regular John McClane. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think
I thought that throughout the movie, and I think it worked. And then until eventually Zeus kind of started to trust him.
It was interesting how they became friends over the course of the action. And it's like, you go through that type of trauma with somebody and you're going to run into that no matter what.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the police. And when I say the police, like maybe New York cops did need McClane. When we were talking about this in the first one, he's like, oh man, I got cases. And we joked about how, hey, he leaves. There's other cops there. They're going to solve the cases.
Pick up the cases. They got the notes.
After seeing this movie, I think he was right. Like he needed to go back because these guys sucked. They were bad. Don't you think so?
The inspector, mustache man.
It was pathetic.
Inspector. Oh man. He didn't know what to do with himself. And he was put in an impossible position. Sure.
But he's like the perfect fall guy, isn't he? Like
he didn't know what to do.
That guy's going down.
Yeah. And his fat-faced friend, I don't even know his name. The guy with the big face, the big head.
The big head guy.
What's his name? Joe Lambert. I'm seeing on IMDb. He's played by Graham Greene. He didn't know what to do. He wasn't doing anything. Like all the cops had no idea what was going on. The FBI was even worse.
I just feel like the FBI shows up and, dude, I mean, even in the first one, you know, when we talked about this, I hate to keep comparing it, but we're doing the summer of sequels here. The FBI shows up and they take jurisdiction.
Yeah.
These guys are like playing second fiddle. This guy is like sucking off his glasses, like in the car, like so weird. And he got rightfully called out for it, but it's disgusting. Like, is
this a subtle way to just make McClane look like the smartest guy in the room?
I think so. Like it went full on. Everybody's an idiot. He's the smartest one. Whereas the first one, he had to build the reputation. You know,
in 24, how, you know, Jack Bauer is always right, but he's constantly fighting his superiors and peers about how to do the right thing, or, you know, just let Jack do his thing, let Jack Bauer do his thing, and nobody lets him do his thing. And it's frustrating. This is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Where it's like McClane knows what to do. Nobody's here to argue against McClane. Go do what you got to do. Solve the case.
They deferred to him so much for everything. Like
this drunken, suspended screw up.
I think that the inspector was one of the most incompetent cops I've ever seen. He was so indecisive and he had no idea what he was doing.
All right. There's a bomb threat called into a school, but someone says, we're watching the school. You can't evacuate. Now, that's a 50-50 proposition of whether there's actually somebody watching. Right?
I mean, in Speed, they were watching, right?
But other times they are watching, but this time they weren't watching. So it's like, and there wasn't even a bomb. So, but what do? You can't just, if you evacuate the school when the terrorists and everyone in the van says don't evacuate or I'm going to blow up, the blood's on your hands there. So that's like, what do you do?
But where was the mayor in any of this? Like, they didn't tell anybody. Like, shouldn't they have told the mayor? Shouldn't they have told the president? Like, the president didn't know anything?
Someone who's higher up than this inspector needs to make the decision of whether or not to evacuate. This guy should not be the guy who has the call.
You got those two bozo FBI guys, like the glasses sucking guy and the other guy, and they were having a standoff of who's going to give information to each other. I thought they were coming in just like in the last one where they come in and pull rank and say, this is our investigation now. All they did was supply agents. That was about it. And that was over. But my issue with it is like, where's the FBI director? Where's the president? Where's the mayor? Where's anybody?
It's a pretty
this
big deal.
Guy is the only one that is like making decisions. Like, it should be above his head. And then the president could make the call of like, evacuate the school or don't evacuate the school. They kept it a secret.
And by the way, not to play detective, but when they casually dropped that 14 huge jump trucks were stolen, right? As like an, oh, by the way, of like anything else going on in the city. Yeah. Like, in the back of your mind, you're going, okay, we just had a terrorist attack. And now for some reason, 14 heavy duty big dump trucks just got stolen. I wonder if there's something going on here. I wonder if they're related, right?
Man, they must have
nobody thinks a word about it.
That's why I'm saying this guy sucks. These guys are some of the worst cops I've ever seen. And another thing that I just have to bring up, because I don't know if this comes out to you, but they have the terrorist on the phone. And this is obviously a movie trope where it's like, oh, we got to trace the call. You got to trace the call.
Got to trace the call.
Like, any villain that's worth anything, they got like either a timer or they're ready. They got their watch out. They know how long the call needs to last.
You have to try, because often the one chance that the villain doesn't know that they're tracking the call or doesn't think about that, they're crossing their T's, they're dotting their I's and lowercase J's. Maybe they forget this one time. It's why you have to try. And they always get called out on it and like be made stupid, but it's kind of, you got to shrug your shoulders and go, hey, I had to try.
It's like, you either know they got a timer, they're going to shut off the timer, they're going to hang up the phone before it's over, or they're going to be routing the calls through New Mexico.
The call goes to Portugal and Hawaii and Antarctica. Yeah.
But it's like, and they have the most contraption thing to trace the call. It's like, hold on, you made him hang up too early. Yeah. It's like, dude, that guy was hanging up.
We would have had him in 2 more seconds. Like, he knew, that's why he hung up.
Yeah. We almost had him. You messed it up. So I don't know, man. I just feel like, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about the riddles that were set by Simon, they also let the police officer go into Harlem wearing a sign that had one of the most like heinous words you could have in the middle of Harlem.
Like,
They allowed that.
We're going to drop back like 10 blocks. It's
He
like,
was
okay,
like, "Are you kidding me?
you're putting this guy out to die.
What are they doing? Like, or they're gonna create a riot, like a race riot. I mean, they incited racism.
And once they find out that guy was a cop, are you serious?
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. Like, what are they
There's
doing?
going to be an incident. There's going to be an incident on their hands.
Yeah, this is about to be an incident film.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, we already talked about them not contacting the FBI. There was an explosion. Like, nobody knew in the city what was going on. That whole city had been locked down, but they're like business as usual. Those schools are calling out. Like, they'd have evacuated the schools right away after the first explosion, don't you think?
Do you think the writer of this movie has a negative thought of New York and the NYPD?
Maybe.
To make them so bumbling?
They were incompetent, man. And I'm not saying the real NYPD are. They're
I wonder if there's a
good.
vendetta. I wonder if this guy had a vendetta, you know?
It might have been. I don't know. And then also like the bomb defusal stuff. Like,
Yeah.
did you think that bomb? I don't even know the guy's name, but the bomb diffuser guy, was he good, or were they just?
He's like a pyromaniac. He was like excited by it all, you know? And I feel like a lot of those guys are freaks, right? You got to be
Living on the
nuts
edge?
to be a bomb diffuser. You got to be nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I know the movie Hurt Locker exists, but I want to see a movie like you know, let's have a movie where people are in school for bomb diffusion, right?
They might do that. I don't know.
And then like something happens, and in the real world they got to go out and do it. It's like, who's going to do it? It's kind of like Top Gun Maverick, but with bomb diffusals.
Yeah, that's true. It's like,
Let's do
we
it.
need
Somebody
the best,
write that movie.
best of the best.
I'll go watch it.
No, you're right. Hurt Locker's probably the closest to it. I always wondered this too. Like, are you going to cut the wire? And like, should he have waited till it was closer to the kids getting out? Like, he was cutting.
They weren't
messing around with
allowed.
the wires.
No, the kids weren't leaving. He had to cut the wire while the kids were in school.
But
right?
if you cut that and it blows up,
That's his. Is he the murderer?
I think he is.
Yeah,
He did it.
because if he does nothing, maybe the timer's a dud and nothing happens. But when you cut the wire, it's like you're definitely forcing it.
You know, when they play, was like Hot Potato, you ever played that game? The Hot Potato game? It's like you play Hot Potato. I mean, he was the last one holding
He's
it.
the last one to touch it.
He touched it last. I know Simon
He might
set
as well
the
have
bomb,
brought.
but
He might as well have brought the bomb in. He touched it.
it's like he's responsible.
Yeah.
This incompetent police officer
Well-
blew up a school.
Well, he doesn't have to live with the guilt because he's the closest one to the bomb, so he's definitely dead.
In an instant.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also thought another thing too is like the cops trying to keep the kids calm while they're singing in an auditorium. Like, besides, talk about unrealistic things. Those kids were perfectly calm, just singing in an auditorium, waiting for them. Like, that's my nightmare, man. Get me out of there.
Yeah, those kids were too old to be occupied by song.
Yeah. Let's talk about the riddles. So we got to go through this. We're going to talk about Simon on the villain scale in a second, but let's talk about the different things he did and whether it was something to throw McClane off the scent or whether it was something he was trying to do to get him. But maybe we can kind of go through and break some of these down and talk about what Simon was thinking, and then we'll talk about his overall plan in a second on the villain scale. But let's walk through some of these. So the first one we already touched on was the sign and him wearing that sign.
Yeah.
Would you do that if you were in that situation?
I mean, if he's gonna blow something up, maybe you got to, but like it's a suicide mission. If I'm being honest,
It's so
if
bad.
If Zeus wasn't there, he probably would have died, right?
Oh, he'd definitely been dead.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Yep.
I mean, doing that, like, he'd have been, he was inciting a riot.
And we don't know if that was Simon's plan or not. Was Simon's plan for him to die right then and there on the streets of Harlem?
Or just to distract him.
Or
maybe.
just to well, it was all a distraction, right? But like, did he expect him to get beat up there, or did he expect him to get killed there?
That's a good question. Maybe it was like, hey, you know what? If he gets beat up, great. And he gets tortured and he looks like a fool and, he causes trouble in town. And if he dies, hey, man, that's just the icing on the cake. But then all the other traps are set. Like, he spent all that time.
But then he can put the inspector on the elephant case. If he can put the inspector on.
You think that guy's solving that puzzle? Hell no. That guy's not solving anything.
The inspector is certainly not driving a cab through Central Park. That's for sure. To get to the subway.
He won't even know where to go. I mean, there's no way. Like I said before, they were lucky as hell that they had McClane. These guys, I mean, they were idiots. They didn't know what they were just looking to him for help.
Yeah. He was basically Bruce Wayne.
He was. He was.
Yeah.
So second
solving
one.
riddles left and right. Val Kilmer, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it was. Clock, chess pawn. What was the next one?
Wasn't it the bomb in the trash can? Forgive us if they're slightly out of order, but I believe we got this right here. He calls as I was going to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives, and every wife had 7 kittens, cats, whatever, blah, 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 blah. How many people are going to St. Ives? Now, he's talking so fast there, I would have done the math too. I would have been like, 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7.
Zeus knew right away.
Zeus is like, no, just the guy. Just
He
the
was
guy. Just the guy. It's a fake bomb. Just embarrass him. Just for fun.
What do you think about a payphone? I know they don't really exist anymore, but like if one rang, would you answer it?
I lived my life by that when I was a kid,
Really?
hoping that the payphone would ring.
And
Yes.
then you run into like the situation. What's the movie with Colin Farrell when he's like on the phone all the time with the
Phone booth? The
Yeah,
movie
phone
about the
booth.
phone booth?
The phone-
You mean phone booth?
that movie about the phone booth? It's like, man, imagine
Yeah.
that. Like then you get caught
So-
up in that whole thing.
So growing up, I used to like hang out at our church a lot. We had our church down there. Not that I was a big church boy, but like a lot of the community events were there. And there was a payphone right by there. And for whatever reason, we would always hang out by the payphone. And we'd like dial 1-900 numbers to see what we could get to answer. And then like we would just sit there and like, what if the phone rang? And like we would sit there and wait for the phone to ring. And then sometimes we would get the phone number of the payphone, and then we would call the payphone and see if someone would pick up. And nobody ever picked up.
Would you fight to like answer the phone, or like whose turn is it to answer? How do you
real
know?
boring town. The phone never rang, Drew.
Yeah, the phone never rang.
Real boring town we lived in.
You don't live in New York City over here with
No,
a bomb in a subway.
Hot town, so in the city.
Yeah. That's a funny story. I think about that a lot. It's like, you talk about being an old man now. We're millennials, but it's like,
Yeah.
what's a payphone? What's
No,
a
we
computer?
lived. We're lucky enough to live both lives.
Yep.
Growing up in the 80s and 90s, where there was technology, but it was kind of primitive, and then into the internet era, and now it's the future.
I catch myself watching these YouTube nostalgia videos these days. I know it's way off topic here, but like people do these. I've posted up some of them on our account before, where it's like 80s montage with an 80s song, or 90s montages of like movies and stuff, like the movies of 1992.
Sure, yeah.
And they're great. Like there's some really talented people on YouTube that make these supercuts. But man, you talk about having the feels. You watch some of those movies and it's like, man, that feels like a really long time ago, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's a weird feeling. So even watching this movie,
when
1995.
when you realize this movie is 29 years old,
Yeah.
that's when you start to question, the sands of time.
It's a weird feeling. I feel like the
Yep.
Prince of Persia here.
Yep.
Where did they go?
I'm glad you got that.
Oh, I knew. See, this is why we have the mind meld over here.
Yep. Finish each other's sandwiches. Yep.
Where do they go next?
Then there's a very real bomb in a subway down by Wall Street, and Simon says, "Oh, you'll get there in 30 minutes," which is impossible in this city, and they know it. So, what do? Take a cab through Central Park, and then take that ambulance chase ride, right? Would you have done this? Like, if you let's say someone was like 30 minutes to get across the city, or you're dead.
I'm dead.
Would you do it by any means necessary? Driving on sidewalks?
I guess you have to, but like you might kill other people in the process.
Yeah, even though you have to, I don't think I would. I think I would try to do it the right way, and then I'd be stressed out, and then I'd lose.
What if you kill a bunch of people in the meantime and you still don't make it anyway?
Exactly.
Then you really double.
Yeah, then what? Yeah.
I'll tell you what. All I could think about was Steven Seagal driving underneath the train tracks in Out for Justice when he was driving through the park, and he was driving like a maniac, and also Chev Chelios in Crank. Like it reminded me a lot about that. And I feel like, I don't know, trying to get there in under 30 minutes. Like I'm not a New Yorker. Obviously we live close to New York, so I've been to the city a bunch of times. I mean, there was no way in hell he was doing that unless he did the shortcut. And I thought that was pretty clever. But like, could you imagine if you could just drive wherever you want? Like driving on the sidewalk? Like, why not?
I mean, that's why people love playing Grand Theft Auto, Drew.
Yeah. You live vicariously through it.
Yeah.
The only thing more unrealistic in this movie was Simon using his cell phone in the subway, like his 1995 cell phone underneath the ground. But I guess because he pulled the antenna out, it's okay.
Yeah,
like
he pulled the antenna out, and he's some kind of German technology. I'm sure that we didn't, as Americans, didn't know yet.
Yeah, I would say my next thing was probably the most. The next thing is probably the most iconic thing in the movie. It's the gallon jug.
Everyone knows about the gallon jug trick, Drew. This is what the movie's remembered for. Do you know how to solve it right now? I know you just watched the movie, but when they solved it nonsensically in the movie, like they didn't tell you how they, like he kind of like he explained his thought process, but he didn't say how he got gallons in this jug and gallons in this jug. I like how he went, hey, let's just fill it a quarter of the way up.
Yeah,
it's like no, you got to be precise, man. How precise though? Like, what if you spill a drop?
Yeah, like how
you get blown up? Like, I wonder what it is.
How calibrated is that scale too? What if the scale's off? What if they didn't calibrate it with the jug, empty jug? You got to use the empty jug first, right?
I mean, if you don't do it, they're going to blow you up. So you have to trust their calibration skills, Drew. So how do you do it? Come on, real quick. You got a minute.
At this time of night, I don't think I could do it mentally, but I can tell you the technique would be to pour enough in one so that you can measure the other, because it was, I forgot the numbers, right? Was it 3 and 4 and 1 or something? What was the numbers? There was like a specific.
There's a 3 and a 5 gallon jug, and you have to get 4 gallons in the 5 gallon jug. Exactly. You fill the 5 and you pour it into the 3.
Yeah. So then you know the difference.
So now you have 2 in the 5.
Yes.
Then you dump the 3, and then you pour the 2 in the 5, and then you pour the 2 into the 3, right? So that gives you 2 in the 3 gallon jug, right? Then you fill the 5 up again. You pour as much as you can into the 3 gallon jug. That's 1 gallon, and that'll give you 4 gallons.
There you go. See, you'd be fine. Could you do that in a minute? I don't think I could pour comfortably in a minute.
They had 20 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
I think 15 or 20 minutes.
I thought it was like funny because they didn't tell anybody to get out of the way. Like, what if they messed up? Like, I don't know.
But you can't cause public panic, Drew.
You can't, but you kind of have to.
It just kind of looked like they were dicking around in the fountain, right?
Yeah, but it's like, what are these two guys doing? They're like homeless guys. But let's say you mess up. You probably should have caused the panic because you just killed a bunch of people. Like, what's worse, causing a panic unintentionally? There was bombs going off all over the city. Like, I don't know, again, not to go back to the police ineptitude, but the second that bomb went off in the department store in the very beginning or whatever the hell it was, they'd have had the whole city on lockdown. Like, business as usual.
How long or how far of a distance can you possibly evacuate people? Because you could have Samuel L. Jackson running around in a circle saying, everybody get the hell down. There's possibly a bomb here. If he does that, for 30 seconds, it's a public street. There's going to be more people who didn't hear him coming forward again. So it's like you have to constantly be saying to new people all the time, everybody get down. There's a possible bomb, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's a constant thing. At a certain point, it's like, I just let people walk through.
I get that there was no police because they were all looking, because at the time Simon told everybody there was bombs in schools. So they had everybody sort of distributed all over the place. But the fact that there wasn't a single cop like to even help them out or something, it was all just Gruber's henchmen. It's just bizarre to me. So I don't know. I just thought that was unrealistic. The next one was what, the tickets to Yankee Stadium where McClane didn't show up. I don't know.
Yeah, they were going to snipe him there, which is kind of like an anticlimactic thing, if you ask me. For Simon to get his big revenge,
game over.
For it to happen there, that's kind of strange, right?
Yeah, unless he knew that he wasn't going to show up. It's dumb. Yeah. And then the school bomb, which we can come back to. I don't know. And then the boat bomb, right?
Yeah. Before we get to the school bomb, we got to talk about those snipers at Yankee Stadium. And I guess maybe this could fall under henchmen too, which we could talk about in a minute. But their job was to shoot with precision John McClane when he gets to the Yankee Stadium, right?
Yeah.
So they follow Sam Jackson and they get into a car shootout. These are the worst snipers of all time, Drew.
These guys suck in general. I would say that I know we gave Hans Gruber a lot of credit for his henchmen. This guy had volume, and we'll have to see how it reflects in the scale when we get to it. But I don't think they were very effective.
I mean, I think it would have been better for the movie. Like, let's have McClane get a bullet wound, right?
Yeah. Zeus got shot.
Let's have him like laboring. Let's have him laboring with the shoulder, right? Let's have him do that.
I think he got messed up in the very end, right? But that was
when he was sliding down the freaking cable.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's just in general, but like I don't know. I feel like this is a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And you're right. The guys sucked. And then the school bomb. What was it? The Chester A. Arthur riddle.
Chester A. Arthur school. Yep.
So that was interesting.
21 out of 42. Would you have ever? Do you know the presidents?
I used to know them all because we had to memorize it in school, and I couldn't tell you them. I mean, I know most of them, but I don't remember all the numbers like I used to.
Let me ask you this: if I were to like give you a piece of paper and say, write down all, what are there, 46? Is Biden 46?
Yeah, so because Trump was 45.
Yeah. So if I numbered you 1 to 46, here, write me all the presidents. Do you think you could do it?
No,
it doesn't have to be in order. It doesn't have to be in order. Just write the president's names.
I probably would miss some random ones just because it's been a long time. If you asked me to, I think I could do states and state capitals much better.
I could do that. I could do that easily. But I feel like presidents, I can get 30 of them.
I don't think I could get all of them.
Which is probably failing. It's a failing grade.
But it's like, I used to know all that stuff because we had to memorize it. But you don't think about it all the time, so you forget.
But it's who cares what Chester A. Arthur did? Like, who cares?
If you're interested in it, cool, no problem.
Yeah, right. But like, am I bad American because I don't know Chester A. Arthur?
Some might say you are, but I would.
I'm bad American because I don't care about Woodrow Wilson.
Some would say I am not some, but some may. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree with you though. What about the boat bomb? And that's kind of like the last trick or trap. Like, what was your perspective? What did you think about that?
I kind of think it was a great plan. To like pretend to blow up $140 billion is not a bad idea. And I think it was a good coup de grace, right? Mm-hmm. To have McClane on that boat in the end, right? I don't think he planned it that way.
That's better than
he should have planned it that way.
In Harlem,
he got lucky. He should have planned it that way. Better than getting shot at Yankee Stadium in front of no one.
Yeah, I agree. He should have made it so that he could chase him. I know that other guy, the glasses guy, was pissed that he was toying with him, but that's the best way to do it. Yeah. I don't know. And like the whole way he had to drive through the tunnel. I mean, we're glossing over a lot of stuff. Doesn't matter. Just watch the movie. But the driving through the tunnel thing, there was no way that wood was holding that whole water back. I mean, come on. That's another more unrealistic than
you're questioning the engineering of the New York City aqueduct workers?
I am questioning it. It was leaking. That was only a matter of time. You didn't even need the bomb to blow that up. That was coming out. They just had to knock on it with a little hammer.
Yeah, that foreman he didn't know what he was doing. The guy had all those blueprints. He had no idea what was going on in his own work area.
Tony Soprano and his his cronies were there.
Yeah, they cheaped out the bad contracts.
Yeah. We got to go through Simon, and we're going to talk about him in a second. But what'd you think of the body count in this compared to the first one? Did you feel like it was bloodier?
No, because all I really remembered from the body counts was like the elevator scene, right? And like, who else died in this movie? Like, I can't think of too many. Oh, the girl henchman Katya brutally murdered that guy, right?
I mean, I don't want to say
a couple of bank employees got their necks snapped.
What did you think of Katya murdering that dude? By the way, I pulled this from movieBodyCounts.com.
Very brutal.
Like, would you have done what he did? Like he was in there pumping his shotgun and just blindly, like he pulled the Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura and Predator, just shooting into nothing. Like, would you do that? Like, I don't. What was he trying to solve with that?
If you're about to die, I think you just gotta like go out guns blazing, right?
What if they just let him in and say, "Here, just take the money"? Like, what's he gonna do? Really?
They were gonna kill him. Come on, come on now.
I don't know. Maybe I'd rather.
Do they seem like the type of crew that's gonna leave a guy?
No, that's true. That's true. So I looked this up. Our friends at movieBodyCounts.com still going strong. They haven't had any updates, but it's still alive. The site somehow. Yeah. According to them, and again, I don't know how accurate this is. Die Hard 1 had 20 kills.
Yeah,
and then there was, I think, 2 miscellaneous that were blown up in an armored car. This one was 26 kills, 13 by McClane, 1 by Katya, which I still can't believe that nobody else died.
It didn't feel that way.
Yeah, because didn't Simon kill people? Like, it's weird.
See, I see on the list here, they're counting 9 for department store bombing, but we don't know that. We didn't
Yeah,
see
how did
those
they get
bodies
that?
die. Yeah.
Was there the coroner?
I was
Did they
I was
release it?
curious of it. I was curious of what was the death toll of that bomb. And maybe they said it and I didn't hear it, but
It might have
both
been
of
on
us
the
didn't
news
hear
or
it.
something. Maybe it was in the news.
Both of us missed it somehow. But somebody had to die in the department store, and somebody had to die in that subway. Even though McClane was pretty heroic there, I don't know. It didn't feel like 26. Put it that way.
What do you think of them counting Hans Gruber dying in stock footage? That to me is like,
I think that's bad.
yeah,
I appreciate the website existing, but that's just
bad body counting.
That's bad body counting. He's no James A. Janice, tell you that much.
The most brutal death in the entire movie. You know which one I'm going to say, right? The guy that gets
the guy that gets cut in half by the wire.
by the cable.
That's my biggest fear.
And
is getting cut in half by a high tension wire.
I thought the elevator kills were pretty bad too.
Yeah,
but man, it's like bad.
Scariest scene to me in movie history is Ghost Ship when the whole ship dies by high tension cable.
Dude,
I worry about that.
I mean, it could happen. I guess that's like a Final Destination type death to me.
If I'm near high tension cable, I'm nervous. I'll tell you that much.
And one other random thing, because I want to ask you about this, but what about shooting a gun in an elevator? Like when they were shooting in the elevator, so you mentioned, I think 4 guys died in that because he blasted them all. Like, could you imagine like your ears after that? He didn't even go deaf.
That's how you get tinnitus, right? That's how you get it.
Yeah. Like I try to wear earplugs when I go to concerts, and he's blasting like a Beretta in like an elevator.
Or do the stray shots that don't hit bodies, do they like ricochet, or is that like a
true.
fake movie thing?
Depends on how.
Imagine there's like a pinball scenario going on.
Yeah, it depends on how the elevator is constructed, I guess. I don't know, but it was pretty brutal.
I guess that would require it being bulletproof. I don't know. I'd probably not. But
let's talk about Simon and let's put him through the scale here.
Simon.
No, we talk about this every week, but just in case you guys happen to be new to the show, we have a patented Last Row podcast villain scale that we put all of our villains through. 4 major categories: look or style, hideout or lair, plan and henchman, 1 to 5. I know we get some feedback like, oh, you guys got to fix the scale, or oh, it's not a balanced scale. It is a balanced scale. And
who said that?
Why? There's people that have said this before.
Give me their names.
There was a friend that I will name nameless from my job that was telling me today he doesn't know about the scale, and I said the scale balances itself.
Tell him Badway's coming for him.
He's listening, so you can.
Hey buddy from work.
Yeah, you can hear it.
Knock it off.
But I think let's put him through the scale, and I do want to talk a little bit about him compared to his younger brother Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
So we'll maybe talk a little bit about it, but let's start with his look or style. What do you think about it?
I don't know, because what's the real? I guess the real Simon is the tank top Simon, right?
Like the fake looking Guile, like Street Fighter.
Yeah,
Guile?
fake look a Street Fighter Guile. Is that the real Simon? I don't think because the suit Simon was a costume with the apple tie, with the Texas accent, right? That's fake Simon.
That's definitely fake Simon, and I guess to your point, he must think that that's what Americans look and sound like. I guess I don't know if that's.
Do you like him chomping on an egg while he has an Uzi pointed at him, knowing that Sam Jackson doesn't know how to fire that thing?
I just thought that was funny to me. Like, I don't know. Just the apple tie is ridiculous.
Yeah. He gets an extra point for eating that egg while having a gun pointed at him, like the cockiness of it.
He knew, and Zeus had no idea what the hell he was doing. Like, he's clicking at it and everything. So, we got to talk about, so he has accessories. So he's got multiple outfits. He looks like he's in Oasis. Talking about the 90s. He had that haircut. I think he even said, I think I saw this on IMDb, he described it as a midlife crisis haircut or something, where he had frosted tips and he had like a small mullet. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it was long in the back. It was.
Like it wasn't, when they you go to Supercuts back in the day, they would say you want square or round on the back. Yeah. He said neither is what he said. Yeah. That's what he said. So I don't know how you get that haircut. The glasses were pure 90s. They were like almost like octagonal, right? Like they weren't round. They were octagonal.
Yeah, they were octagonal. That's right.
It's like, where do you buy those?
I just think he was so unique. And I feel like I'm giving him the cell phone as part of his style, and factoring in his confidence and his cockiness, and the fact that he faked the stutter to reel in McClane even more.
Yeah,
I'm kind of ready to give him a 4, just based on miscellaneous things. It's not so much one thing, because his wardrobe itself is pretty nondescript, and he doesn't really have crazy weapons. I can't place it. It's just he has a certain swagger about him.
Would it help if I told you that we gave Hans a 3? Because he had like the Italian suits and stuff.
Yeah, but he was so conservative. Hans was so conservative, right?
Yeah,
there wasn't much to him and his look and his weaponry. He was kind of just he was who he was.
Well, I think Simon's got multiple outfits. He's got, and we talk about accessories, like it's probably part of his plan, but he's got all the dump trucks that he stole. He's got all the bombs. Those are accessories too, right?
But Simon isn't as cool as Hans, now that I think about it. But he's more confident than Hans.
Yes, he is.
But he's not as cool. He's not as cool.
He's definitely not as cool, but I feel like, and he's the older brother, they said, which I thought was interesting because he didn't strike me as an older brother. He looked more like a younger brother.
But it was still like 7 years after Hans died.
That's true. That's true.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like going a 4 because I like the accessories that he had, and
I'm okay.
I don't know if we're being too generous here, but I feel like a 4 is good, and he's got like a whole like military too. I know that's more henchmen, but I don't know. Let's go 4.
And before we move on from look style, I don't know where else to place this. I had to ask you, the Batman connoisseur, how do you feel about him as Alfred? Is he a good Alfred?
I like him as Alfred. I think he's great. I know that movie that people don't like the Snyder movies, and I get that, and I understand the criticism, but I personally think he's pretty good as Alfred. I almost feel like he's wasted because I feel like he is more of like a military kind of Alfred, which could be pretty cool. But I liked Andy Serkis in the new Batman, which I thought he was pretty good too. But I like Jeremy Irons. I think he's underrated. He's a great actor, and I thought he fit the part here. And it's funny, he almost looked like he had guy liner on a few times. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I think he had makeup going. Yeah.
Maybe we should take a point away. I don't
know. Maybe we should add a point.
Maybe add one, a 5. Perfect 5. What is his hideout? Do you consider it all those different locations?
I don't know, man. I kind of like the boat as his hideout, but it's not really. But I kind of like it as like.
Is that an accessory? Like,
it's kind of an accessory.
I think you got to say some of his hideout was he had the boat. Was like the big boat. He had like the tunnels, even though it wasn't his hideout officially. Like he kind of owned those
the
tunnels.
Aqueduct. He owned the aqueduct, right?
It, just like Jason took over.
And the bank. He owned the bank.
The bank was his. He owned that. I mean, he literally owned all
commandeered it all. Yeah.
But I would also say that weird military hideout that he had in Canada somewhere. Like where was that? So
that's
he had a lot of places.
That's it. Even though like they only planned to be there for like a day.
But maybe that's where their base of operations was, and they went back to it.
Yeah,
I feel like he's got a lot of different things, but he doesn't spend enough time in any of them, in my opinion. So I feel like it's got to be like a 2 or a 3.
I'm gonna give him a 2 because I like that military outpost in Canada, and I feel like that's like the main one. He just doesn't spend enough time there.
I agree with that.
And then partially also the boat, which I kind of like, but still not enough time, so it's 2.
I agree with that. Let's go with a 2. What about his plan? This is where you got to break it down for people.
So what do we call it? It's a multi-tiered plan. It's A, revenge on McClane, die hard with a vengeance, right? Let's get back at the guy who killed my brother, even though I don't like my brother so much. And it's also, let's steal $140 billion from, what's the place called?
The Federal Reserve Bank in New York.
Federal Reserve in New York. And we're going to blow it up just for fun, right? Or whatever, just to show people, let's cripple the economy or whatever. But also, let's not cripple the economy. Let's steal it for ourselves.
Let's take it. Yeah,
which is the real genius, which is where the points start going up, Drew.
Yeah.
Because why blow up all that money when you just have it and have people think you did, as they said in the movie.
He thought he was the Joker from The Dark Knight, but he wasn't. Yeah. He didn't light it on fire.
Yeah, the Joker actually lit that money on fire, yeah.
But
only by half.
So do you think his plan was more about revenge against McClane? Or was that a ruse? Like, did he really want revenge?
It was always about the gold.
So he didn't care at all about McClane. It was just more of a distraction.
McClane was plan B. Yeah.
But like, if he killed McClane, it wasn't because he really wanted revenge against his brother. I mean, they both say my brother was an asshole or something, right? Like they kind of admit it.
I think the death of McClane on that day was assumed by Simon the whole time. but he didn't really care when or where it happened.
Did you feel
the more important thing was the gold?
Did you feel like Simon was more annoyed at his brother? Because it's like, dude, you're giving our military a bad name here. Like you're trying to do too much. Yeah. Stop doing that. Let me take over. So maybe he was happy with McClane in some ways.
But like, again, like both plans would have worked. Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 3, if not for Super Cop. So it's kind of like, if Batman shows up, you're screwed. But if Batman doesn't show up, it's perfect crime.
We gave Hans Gruber a 5. And I remember that vividly because we said on the show, you go back and listen to it, McClane was the only thing that stood between them. It would have worked. And I think this would have worked.
Yeah, I'm ready to give it a 5 also. And he said it at the end of the movie, cheers to the gullibility and the ineptitude of the New York City Police Department. Because he knew.
My man.
He played him like a fiddle.
My man. He knows he's speaking to my heart here. Like they were completely inept. I agree with you.
I'm ready to give it a 5. So yeah, let's give it a 5. But I have a question about the gold. Like, how is the gold money, Drew? Like, explain economics to me, Drew. Like, how does he turn this gold into like actual money in his pocket? Like, and I know the gold equals the money. I get that, but like, how does he? Like, he can't just say, "Hey, I got these gold bars. Well, who wants to buy them?" They're going to know where it came from.
But I guess if you melt it down, it's not going to have the stamp of the Federal Reserve on it. Like, is there forensic fingerprinting of that?
But melt it down to what? And I have something about this that in a minute I'm going to talk about. But like, what could you realistically melt it down to? And then you have to have a buyer that wants to buy this gold, and they might try to screw you on the price. And all of a sudden, you're getting 10 cents on the dollar. But if you're getting 10 cents on the dollar of free, I guess that's not so bad.
I guess you need to go profits. Ransom it back to the government, or you need to ransom it back to...
That's risky.
Like, maybe you take it on the black market, right? It's like, how do you sell a nuclear warhead? Like, you do that.
But you have to black market it because the goal is to make people think you blew it up. Because, your reputation is on the line if you show up with the gold.
But do you tell other bad guys? Like, they wanted, what's his name, Katya's boyfriend to know that it was blown up. But him and her were getting away with it. Yeah. And the other guys, like, do you tell all of the other like villains in the world, "Hey, look, I got this gold now"?
Yeah. The super villain, the super villain convention. Yeah. He has to be known as the guy. He wants to be known as the Joker.
Yeah. Is there like a Facebook for super villains where they're all friends with you?
Absolutely.
It's like a black market.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The whole other thing to me is about the government. Would they keep up the charade or the charade that this gold was even stolen? Like, who knows what's in that vault? Like, you can't, you and I aren't getting a tour of the Federal Bank of New York City Reserve here. Like, you just believe that there's gold in there.
Yeah, it could be plastic for all we know.
They could just fake it. They could
just say,
gold.
Yeah, here's all these bills, these dollar bills. And I'm sure there's more dollar bills than there are gold. Like, but I'm no conspiracy theorist, but the moon landing was fake. And there's, the money doesn't equal the gold. The money doesn't equal the gold, and the earth is flat. But I just don't understand how they're going to how they're going to make, like, it's such hot stolen property,
I think it's better than cash, though, because there's no serial number.
Like, if you're a diamond thief, like, how do you get rid of the diamonds? Like, that stresses me out, how they're going to get money for the diammonds.
I think I'll say this, I think it's easier than cash because cash has serial numbers and you need to launder the money.
Yeah.
This is like a physical good that doesn't represent something. So it has value.
I know, but it's so obviously property of the United States government.
Yeah, but they could melt that down, baby. They melt it down.
You melt it down into a different gold bar.
That's what I mean.
Gold bar. Okay.
You get a different seal on it. Like, you can't take the serial number off of a US dollar.
Well, actually, I have the answer to what they melted it down to.
Okay,
because there is an alternate ending for this movie, Drew.
Really?
I found this on slashfilm.com, and they broke it all down. It was filmed and everything. It just wasn't released or whatever. To where Simon makes it to Hungary, right? And he smuggles the gold across the globe by melting it into statues of the Empire State Building.
like
golden statues, memorabilia, Empire State Building.
Or is it an FU to America of like,
it's all connected. It's all connected. Yes.
That's awesome. Yes. I like that.
So he makes it across the Hungary, and McClane, he failed to get him, and then McClane somehow gets the drop on him, goes to Hungary, and then McClane hunts down, kills his crew, and starts playing a Simon Says game with Simon.
Man,
how long is this movie?
4 hours?
How long is this movie? No, I don't know. I maybe they glossed through the whole him killing his henchman type thing. I have no idea. This could be an extra 15 minutes for all we know.
There's no way that can.
Yeah.
So where did it start? It was after he got away and not him finding him in Canada.
Yeah. So they don't take the chopper to Canada to shoot him down, right?
Dude,
he escapes to Hungary. I guess that's where he was going. And then McClane follows him or tracks him down in Hungary and makes him play a game. I guess he catches him and has him do like a roulette thing, a Russian roulette type deal. And there's like a whole thing, which would have been interesting to see, but it's fine. I actually don't like the way this movie ended.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to bring that up at the end.
This seems overdone.
It's too much. It's look, 2 hours and 8 felt like 2 hours and 45 in my opinion. You go add that in. It's a cool idea. Conceptually, I like it, but I think they made the right choice there.
But I also felt like McClane and Sam Jackson yucking it up in the helicopter, like that seemed too much to me.
Well, and why would Sam Jackson go?
Why would Sam Jackson be there? He's shot and he's like, whatever.
If I'm not here to bash the
movie. But like I have a problem with the last 15 minutes of this movie, but it's fine. It's fine. What about the henchman, Drew?
We gave him a 5 for his plan. I think we're good on that. The henchmen, I gotta be honest with you, I don't think they're very good. He has
a lot of them. He has a lot of them.
He did not have quality.
Yeah.
And his brother had much better henchmen. You had Vigo the Carpathian, you had a bunch of other people. We gave him a 4. I just don't think they were very good. Do you? Like, I don't think you can go higher than a 2.
But a lot of them survived though. So it's not like I don't know. Like Katya was good. Katya was good.
But she didn't do anything other than kill that guy.
Targo looked the part, but he didn't really put up much of a fight. He did physically fight McClane and lived. He looked
like Frankenstein.
He lived to tell about it. He fought McClane and lived. That's something.
And then they killed him, right?
They killed him, yeah. Once he found out the truth about the gold.
I don't know. There was like the fake cops, the fake bank operators. Like, were all of these guys in that army, or were they some Americans at all?
No, they're all fake American German guys.
But like, remember in the first one that guy that was the security guard desk, like he was talking about the Texas football game, like he seemed like a regular American dude. Like he didn't seem like he was faking it.
Well,
I don't know. These guys are weird.
It's the fake accent. You remember when
don't kill Mary, please.
Yeah, when Hans, that was pretty good. Oh, don't kill me. I don't want to die.
I don't want to die, please.
Name's Clay.
I don't know.
And then Simon did it too.
He did.
Simon did the Texas accent, Holy Toledo.
Whoa, Nelly.
Oh, now.
Oh, doctor. Thinking about Keith Jackson.
Freaking Simon.
Simon.
What's with that family? What's with that family? Fake American accents.
I know we have European listeners. Please write into us, thelastwordpodcast@gmail.com. Is that what you guys think that we all sound like? I mean, you're obviously listening to us now, but I would love to know, do you guys all think that we're just a bunch of like cowboys or something? Because I just need to know.
So Irons does a good German accent because I looked it up. I thought he was German. He's not German. He's more English
British,
than
right?
German.
Yeah.
He's from like the Isles of an island off of England.
The British Isles. English Isles.
He's from the British Isles. So he's not German. He's from nowhere near German. He's from nowhere near German.
Yeah. But what are they actually from? So he was from the East German army. And I think because they showed the picture of him in the outfit and stuff. So he was literally East German army leader and everything. And I know some of the other guys were from like Hungary. I think I forgot the other dude. His name was what's the guy's name? I want to say Torvald, but I'm thinking about
Torvald Targo.
Targo.
You think of Johnny Drama?
Johnny Drama. Torvald. That's who I'm thinking about. Johnny Drama from Viking Quest. But yeah, Targo. I think he was like Hungarian or something.
Well, yeah, that's what they said in that alternate ending. They escaped to Hungary.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably the home base.
I don't know. It's just weird to me. I can't go. I'll give him a 2, maybe. I can be convinced on a 3 because, like you said, Targo fought McClane and lived to fight another day. But he had quantity.
I'm okay with 3.
You don't
just
think
because I think they had good numbers and not all of them died.
All right.
So like McClane cleaned out Hans's whole army. Like that didn't happen with Simon.
So just to recap for everybody, that puts him at a 14 out of 20. So he gets a
Pretty
4
good.
for look and style, a 2 for hideout a layer, 5 for plan, and a 3 for henchman. And his brother, just for the record, had 3, 1, 5, 4. So he lost points on the hideout because he didn't have one. I guess you could argue that he didn't either, but I'm going to give him the military base. That's where I think he gets the 2 instead of the 1. So he sneaks out his younger brother by 1 point. So 14 out of 20.
Good score.
So maybe tell me about this at the end and we can wrap this up, because I agree with you, what you said in the beginning of the show. I feel like I love this movie and I still think it's a fantastic movie, but I agree. I think the first one's better. I don't remember what I said in the first episode. I don't remember if I said number 1 was better, but I think it is now. And you said, do you think the ending affects it for you? Is that why you feel that way, or is it something else?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I feel like this movie slows down at certain places, and for a 2+ hour movie, you don't want that. And I felt let down by the ending. It just seemed too extra to them yucking it up in the chopper, going after them after, the climax of the movie, which is them escaping the boat. It seemed like an after credits type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And the way
I know you don't. Yeah,
Jackson was with him, it didn't make sense.
Like obviously, you don't want to end the movie with him getting away. Like the bad guy doesn't get away in the end. But I feel like it was oddly paced. The way they escaped the boat, Simon won. He's on the payphone, which is like you're expecting credits. Like, oh, by the way, we got to go to Canada. Like, this, just screams of Bad Boys 2, even though obviously Bad Boys 2.
I wonder if that's where they got it from. They honestly might have. Yeah. And I think you're right to say that. And like the whole wife thing, I think that was like glossed over. So he left his wife hanging.
Yeah.
So,
which once again, he chose his job over his wife. So
yeah, which makes sense as to why he's divorced or whatever they say in the beginning. So, I mean, I still like this movie. I think it's really good. Who do you think who had a better death than Hans or Simon?
Oh, Hans, 100%.
Falling off the tower.
200%. Much more iconic.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic to get blown up in a helicopter when you think you're winning. He should have won. He was blinding him with a light.
He got killed by a neon sign.
Yeah, pretty lame. Pretty lame. So overall, I think it was a good movie. I'm curious what you guys think. thelastwordpodcast@gmail.com. Write us in. Let us know. Leave an episode or leave a comment on this episode's page. We're in the middle of we're at the very beginning here of our summer of sequels. We'll be back on, actually, somehow we have it lined up on the 4th of July. So we'll be back with the Mummy Returns, starring the one and only Brendan Fraser, and I'm really excited to watch that one. But check out the schedule for the summer of sequels. I'll put it in this episode's page, and we have some good ones coming up. But definitely curious if you guys like this movie or not. Let us know, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Are you aiming for these people, McClane? Just drive.
I feel like this movie has so many quotes. Like, we could have used one of his, but I'd have to bleep out every single F-bomb because I wish there was an F-bomb count on this movie. Talking about getting an R rating. There was more than the first one.
Definitely. 100%. Sam Jackson adds. Sam Jackson adds.
Like, do you think a lot of that is improvised? Or is it like they let them have full name? Like, how many F-bombs before it becomes unseen?
I think it's all paper. I think a lot of it's